Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Drew Cain prevented Willow Corinthos from visiting the clinic by paying an employee to lie about Michael Corinthos' wishes, according to a General Hospital recap from Friday, April 25th. Let's chat about how everything went down on Friday's fantastic episode. Molly Lansing Davis reeled over the documents Christina Corinthos Davis had committed, realizing they had ended up in her bag following her accident with Diane Miller. Molly thought she needed to inform Christina right away, so she gave her the documents at Carly Spencer's house, leaving her sister startled. Christina observed that the date on the paperwork coincided with their movie night, during which Alexis Davis pretended everything was okay. Cody Bell ended himself babysitting Donna Corinthos, while Christina and Molly went to face Alexis. At the law office, Ava Jerome interrupted Alexis' conversation with Marco Rios, prompting her to discreetly urge Alexis to accelerate the payment plan by another $150,000. Alexis protested that moving large sums of money too quickly was an easy way to get caught, but Ava stayed firm. Alexis sent the money online after Ava left, just before Molly and Christina barged in, angry, asking for answers. Brick spoke with Carly in Los Angeles the possibility of having a security team monitor the hospital, because the perpetrator of the penthouse attack had not been apprehended. Sonny Corinthos' surgery went well, so the doctor informed Carly of the good news and suggested she meet him after he was settled in his room. However, a suspicious nurse had other plans, sneaking into Sonny's room with a syringe full of something frightening. As this woman prepared to inject Sonny, his eyes opened wide. Dante Falconeri discovered Lulu Spencer arguing with Brooklyn Quartermain, who was frustrated by the adoption narrative and Lulu's obsession with the baby cover-up. Brooklyn responded by pretending as if the situation was too personal, citing her plans to adopt a child with Harrison Chase. Lulu suggested that the article could assist Chase and Brooklyn understand more about the adoption process. Besides, Lulu was hoping to restore her journalism career, so she refused to back off the authorized pitch. Nina Reeves met with Portia Robinson at Crimson, where they discussed the idea to drug Drew and frame him for a hookup with Jacinda the prostitute. According to Nina, Willow would return home to discover Drew in bed with Jacinda. Nina also advised they obtain photographic evidence so that Portia could have the upper hand. When Jacinda arrived for the meeting, she believed Portia and Nina wanted her services for themselves. Nina stated that they were employing Jacinda for something different that would not require her to sleep with anyone, but would include photography. Jacinda was hesitant of putting up a congressman and afraid she'd die, but Nina and Portia predicted that everything would be all right. Nonetheless, Jacinda stated that she would expect a higher rate than usual, namely $6,000. Willow introduced herself to the lady at the front desk in Baden-Baden, and explained that she was visiting her husband, Michael. Unfortunately, the clinic employee turned Willow away, claiming that Michael did not want anything to do with her. Willow objected that this was about the children, but the lady didn't believe it would make a difference because Michael's wishes were obvious. Willow contacted Nina to grieve over how things turned out, and she said she'd fly home tomorrow morning. Nina agreed to pay Jacinda the cash she requested and stated that they had reached an agreement. Drew called the clinic employee after he met with Jen Sidwell and Jordan Ashford to strategize against Sonny's region. The front desk clerk insisted on lying to Willow, as Drew had requested, and claimed Michael did not want to see her. Drew was glad that the task was completed, so he told the woman that her payment was on its way. According to General Hospital spoilers, Drew has made another horrible decision that will undoubtedly come back to haunt him. General Hospital teaser suggests that Willow Corinthos may be involved in an aircraft disaster after visiting Michael Corinthos' clinic in Baden-Baden. Will a disastrous return trip result in Drew Cain gaining custody of the children? Willow just signed documents naming Drew as the legal guardian of Wiley and Amelia Corinthos in the event of her death. There has been a lot of attention paid to the potential that Willow may meet a tragic end or become handicapped, so GH writers must be on to something here. All evidence point to Willow being unable to care for the children while Michael recovers. Drew may become Wiley and Amelia's legal guardian, so explore how this could play out. We know Willow makes it to the clinic in the April 25th episode, therefore her flight to Germany will arrive safely. However, calamity might occur on the way back. Willow's attempt to see Michael appears to be less successful than she had planned. We could easily envision Carly, Spencer, or Drew undermining this visit by pulling some strings behind the scenes at the clinic. Willow's situation may deteriorate much further after she boards her aircraft home. Could Willow's plane crash, kicking off the next phase of the story? There may be some stunning news regarding the airplane going missing and a search being launched. The wreckage could eventually be discovered, but what of Willow's fate? If the tale continues in this route, Willow does not have to be killed off. Drew was assumed dead in a plane crash, but he turned out to be alive in the end. However, it is possible that Willow has died, or that she has been rescued from the wreckage with catastrophic injuries. Whatever the case, this airline drama could be the real reason the authors had Willow fly all the way to meet Michael rather than simply calling him. Fans of General Hospital have been making some worrying predictions regarding Willow's future, so don't miss out. According to General Hospital teasers, Willow may be in danger, so stay tuned for more details. General Hospital recap. Friday, April 25th, Drew blocks Willow's clinic visit to Michael. The tension in Port Charles reached new heights on Friday, April 25th, when Drew Kane made a daring move that left Willow Tate reeling and worsened her already strained relationship with Michael Corinthos. The episode was jam-packed with dramatic confrontations, hidden motivations, and shifting alliances, demonstrating once more that General Hospital thrives on high-stakes drama. Drew's unexpected interference in Willow's attempt to visit Michael at the clinic was at the heart of it all, and his action sent shockwaves through their interwoven lives. Willow began the day resolved to see Michael, despite the restrictions on his guests. Michael had been isolated since his admission to the facility, with just a few people allowed to see him. Willow, on the other hand, was not included on the list, which irritated her much. Her anxiety for Michael's well-being had risen since their last encounter, and she was desperate to make sure he was getting the treatment he needed. She believed that if she could only talk to him, she would be able to overcome the emotional barriers he had built. What she didn't expect was Drew to step in and stop her. Drew, who had been keeping a careful eye on everything, stopped Willow just as she was about to enter the clinic. His tone was strong but not harsh as he stated that Michael's treatment plan required minimal outside intervention. Drew emphasized that the physicians had cautioned against having too many visitors, particularly those who might unintentionally provoke Michael's unresolved feelings. Willow, however, was unconvinced. She claimed that she knew Michael better than anybody else, and that her presence may genuinely aid in his recovery. The conversation became increasingly heated, with Willow accusing Drew of overstepping and Drew claiming that he was merely acting in Michael's best interest. The hidden history between them added to the tension of the confrontation. Drew and Willow had once been allies, rallying behind Michael during his worst days. However, recent events had pushed a gap between them, and they now appeared to be on different sides. Willow couldn't shake the suspicion that Drew's motivations were not as pure as he claimed. Was he actually acting on medical advice? Or was there something else going on? Her eyes were filled with skepticism, and Drew's stubbornness to back down only added to her concerns. Meanwhile, the aftermath of Drew's intervention reverberated around Port Charles. Carly Corinthos, who had been keeping her distance from the situation, learned of the altercation and became concerned. Carly had always been extremely protective of her children, and while she and Michael had their disagreements, she still wanted the best for them. She questioned whether Drew's measures were genuinely required, or if he was exploiting Michael's illness to gain control. Her conversation with Drew later that day was difficult, with Carly demanding explanations and Drew holding firm. The chemistry between them had always been complex, and the latest development just added to the strain. At the same moment, Sonny Corinthos was caught in the middle. Even though he and Michael had been at odds for months, Sonny still loved profoundly for his kid. He had accepted Michael's need for space, but Drew's involvement made him wonder if more needed to be done. Sonny's approach was normally more hands-off than Carly's, but he couldn't shake the suspicion that Michael was being duped. Sonny and Drew's quiet but passionate discussion highlighted how serious the situation was. Sonny's warning to Drew was clear. If Michael's safety was jeopardized, there would be repercussions. Back at the clinic, Michael was completely ignorant of the scene occurring outside his door. His treatment had been difficult, forcing him to confront terrible memories and emotions he had previously buried. The physicians had warned that development would be sluggish, with setbacks unavoidable. Despite the hurdles, there were little hints of progress. It was unclear whether these advances would be sufficient to mend his shattered connections. Willow refused to give up. If Drew thought his intervention would deter her, he was mistaken. She spent the remainder of the day looking for different ways to contact Michael, even considering calling out to other family members for assistance. Her tenacity demonstrated her love for Michael, but it also revealed how alone she felt. Willow was beginning to realize how alone she was in this fight as Drew blocked her at every step, and she had few allies to turn to. The episode concluded on a cliffhanger, with Willow making a decision that might change everything. As she stood outside the clinic for the final time, her determination stiffened. If Drew refused to let her in through the front door, she would find another way. The final sight of the night was Willow's steely look as she turned away, leaving spectators wondering what her next move would be. Expanding on the drama, themes and character arcs. The events of April 25th were more than just another day in Port Charles. They were a microcosm of broader themes that have always defined General Hospital: family, loyalty, and the lengths people would go to defend those they care about. Drew's actions, while controversial, were motivated by his own sense of duty. It was unclear whether his approach was warranted or incorrect, but he was confident he was doing the right thing. His personal experiences, such as his time in the military and his own trauma, are likely to have impacted his worldview. In his mind, he was protecting Michael from future sorrow, even if it meant alienating Willow. Willow, on the other hand, embodied the voice of unconditional love. Her determination on seeing Michael was more than just resistance, it was about connection. She knew better than anybody how isolation might aggravate emotional scars, and she refused to let Michael suffer alone. Her personality had changed drastically since her introduction, from a shy instructor to a powerful, determined woman eager to battle for what she believed in. This latest hurdle only strengthened her resolve. Michael's absence for much of the episode was deliberate, adding to the mystery surrounding his illness. Viewers were forced to wonder about his mental health, and whether he was aware of the battles fought on his behalf. His ultimate return to the forefront of the plot promised to be explosive, bringing all of the suppressed emotions and unsolved problems to a climax. The supporting characters also played important roles in developing the story. Carly's parental instincts, Sonny's gentle dominance, and the off-screen presence of other characters such as Nina Reeves and Harrison Chase all contributed to the story's depth. Each had a personal stake in Michael's recovery, and their emotions to Drew's intervention would undoubtedly impact future events. Looking ahead, what's next for Port Charles? As the dust settled on April 25th, a few pressing questions remained. Will Willow be able to contact Michael, or will Drew's obstacles prove insurmountable? How would Michael react if he learned about the conflict? And maybe most intriguing, what was Drew's ultimate goal? Was he actually serving as Michael's guardian, or was there another purpose at work? The answers to these concerns will definitely be revealed in the following episodes, but one thing was certain: the drama in Port Charles was far from ended. With friendships moving and loyalties being strained, General Hospital maintained the riveting storytelling that has kept viewers engaged for decades. As viewers turned off their televisions on Friday night, they were left with one final thought. In a town where secrets were money and trust was a luxury, no one was immune to the consequences. And that was just how Port Charles preferred it. The world of General Hospital is never short on drama, and the most recent spoilers indicate that Willow Corinthos is about to undergo one of the most terrifying ordeals of her life: an aircraft accident. This stunning twist could have far-reaching ramifications for Willow and her entire family. With her life on the line, custody of her children might become a major source of controversy, potentially allowing Drew Kane to take over as their primary guardian. Willow has had an emotional roller coaster in recent years, from her fight with leukemia to her tangled relationships with Michael Corinthos and her adopted mother, Harmony Miller. Just when she thought she had finally achieved stability in her marriage to Michael and their shared custody of their two children, Wiley and Amelia, fate appears to throw another stumbling block in her face. The plane crash narrative is set to shake things up dramatically, leaving fans wondering whether Willow will survive, and if she does, in what shape she will be when she returns. The details behind the tragedy are unknown, but spoilers indicate that Willow may have been traveling for a medical conference, or even a personal excursion when calamity struck. Given her previous health scares, this current issue will definitely send shockwaves around Port Charles. Michael will be beside himself with worry, and if Willow is gravely injured or worse, the question of who will care for their children will become critical. This is when Drew Kane comes into the picture. Drew has been a stabilizing presence in the lives of many Port Charles citizens, and his ties to the Corinthos family are strong. Drew, the biological father of Scout Kane, already has a familial connection to the children. If Willow becomes incapacitated or unable to care for Wiley and Amelia, Drew could act as a temporary guardian, especially if Michael is too distraught or overwhelmed to face the burden alone. Naturally, this scenario would not be without debate. Carly Corinthos and Sonny Corinthos would surely have strong feelings on who should care for their grandchildren. Carly, in particular, has never been shy about expressing her authority over family affairs, and she may push for Michael to keep full custody, perhaps even arguing that Drew, despite his good intentions, does not have the same claim to the children. Meanwhile, Nina Reeves could enter the picture. Given her difficult history with Willow and Michael, Nina may use this tragedy as an opportunity to further integrate herself into their lives, especially if she believes she can offer assistance, or if she has ulterior motivations. If a custody struggle occurs, it has the potential to resurrect old feuds and form new alliances, exacerbating an already stressful situation. Another element to this plot is the possible involvement of additional characters who are linked to the plane tragedy. Could there be any foul play involved? Port Charles is no stranger to conspiracies and sabotage, and if the collision was deliberately provoked, the consequences would be far more devastating. Perhaps an opponent of Michael or Willow is behind it, or it could be part of a broader plot that Drew must uncover. Drew's experience as a former CIA operative may come into play if the incident is not an accident. His investigation talents and connections may be critical in determining the truth, adding tension to the plot. Furthermore, if Willow is missing rather than declared dead, Drew may spearhead the hunt for her, reinforcing his status as a guardian in the family's lives. The emotional toll of this calamity will be enormous. Michael had already experienced significant loss in his life, including the death of his father, A.J. Quartermain refers to the multiple betrayals and tragedies that have befallen his family. If Willow is gravely injured, or her fate is uncertain, he may reach his breaking point. His relationship with Drew may be questioned, particularly if they disagree on how to manage the children's future. Willow would consider it a miracle to survive a plane crash, but the path to recovery would be long and difficult. Physical injuries, trauma, and possible memory loss could all be contributing issues, leaving her battling to restore her life. If she returns to Port Charles and discovers that Drew has taken on a father role with her children, she may feel displaced within her own family. Even if Drew's goals were entirely benevolent, this could cause tension between them. Such a horrific tragedy would have a significant impact on the children, Wiley and Amelia. Wiley, in particular, has already seen a great deal of turmoil in his early life, beginning with the loss of his original mother, Shiloh, and continuing with custody fights. Another significant disruption could have long-term psychological consequences, and the writers may investigate how the family helps him cope. Finally, this plot has the potential to change countless relationships in Port Charles. If Drew does decide to take temporary custody of the children, it may bring him closer to Michael, or build a gap between them. It could also provide Drew a renewed sense of purpose, especially if he has been looking for a deeper connection in his life. Fans of General Hospital will surely be on the edge of their seats as this drama plays out. Willow's plane crash is more than just a dramatic twist. It is the impetus for significant changes in the lives of several characters. Whether it results in Drew being apprehended, a new villain rising, or Willow battling her way back to her family, one thing is certain: Port Charles will never be the same. As the plot progresses, audiences may expect heartbreaking performances, unexpected partnerships, and plenty of twists and turns. The question of who will raise Wiley and Amelia if Willow is unable to do so is only the beginning. What happens next could permanently alter the Corinthos family's future. General Hospital spoilers. Willow's plane crash return trip disaster means Drew gets the kids? The residents of Port Charles are no strangers to tragedy, but the latest General Hospital spoilers suggest that one of the most heart-wrenching disasters yet is on the horizon: Willow Corinthos plane crash. This catastrophic event could alter the lives of multiple families, particularly when it comes to the custody of Willow and Michael's children, Wiley and Amelia. With Willow's fate hanging in the balance, the question arises: could Drew Kane step in as the children's guardian? Willow's journey. A life marked by struggle. Willow Tate Corinthos has endured more than her fair share of hardships. From the moment she arrived in Port Charles, her life was a series of emotional and physical battles. Her initial introduction as a teacher at Wiley's school quickly spiraled into a complex web of secrets, including her true parentage, revealing that Harmony Miller, the woman she believed was her mother, had actually kidnapped her as a baby. This revelation shattered Willow's sense of identity, and her subsequent leukemia diagnosis only deepened her suffering. Despite these trials, Willow found love and stability with Michael Corinthos. Their marriage, though tested by outside forces, including Nina Reeves' meddling, became a cornerstone of her happiness. Together, they fought for custody of Wiley, Michael's son, with Nellie Benson, and later welcomed their own daughter Amelia. For the first time, Willow had the family she always longed for. But General Hospital is never one to let happiness last. The plane crash. A devastating twist. Spoilers suggest that Willow's return trip from a medical conference, or possibly a personal journey, ends in disaster when her plane crashes. The circumstances surrounding the accident remain unclear. Was it mechanical failure, pilot error, or something far more sinister? Given Port Charles's history, foul play cannot be ruled out. If Willow survives, she could face severe injuries, memory loss, or a prolonged disappearance, a classic soap opera trope. If she doesn't, the fallout would be catastrophic, leaving Michael a widower and their children motherless. Either way, the custody of Wiley and Amelia becomes a pressing issue, one that could pit family members against each other in a bitter legal and emotional battle. Drew Kane, the unexpected guardian? Drew's connection to the Corinthos family is complicated but deep. As the biological father of Scout, whose mother is Elizabeth Weber but whose legal father was the late Jason Morgan, Drew already shares a familial link to Wiley, given that Jason was Wiley's biological father. If Willow is incapacitated or worse, Drew could argue that he is the most stable option to care for the children, especially if Michael spirals into grief. Drew's military and CIA background gives him a unique skill set. He's disciplined, protective, and resourceful. He's also proven himself as a devoted father to Scout, making him a strong candidate for temporary custody. However, this arrangement wouldn't sit well with everyone. Carly Sonny's opposition. Carly Corinthos has always been fiercely protective of her family, and she would undoubtedly fight to keep Wiley and Amelia under her and Michael's care. She may argue that Drew, despite his good intentions, isn't blood-related to the children in the same way she and Sonny are. Given Carly's history of manipulating situations to her advantage, she might even use legal tactics to block Drew's involvement. Sonny, on the other hand, might take a more measured approach. While he would want his grandchildren to stay with Michael, he respects Drew and might see the logic in a shared arrangement, especially if Michael is emotionally unstable. However, if Sonny suspects any outside interference, such as Nina's influence, he could become an unexpected ally for Drew. Nina Reeves, wild card in the custody battle. Nina's relationship with Willow has been fraught with tension, especially after Willow rejected her attempts at a mother-daughter bond. However, if Willow is presumed dead or missing, Nina might see an opportunity to insert herself into the children's lives, either out of genuine concern or as a way to stay connected to her lineage, since Wiley is technically her grandson through Nellie. Nina could side with Drew, seeing him as a more stable option than a grieving Michael, or she might push for her own visitation rights. Her involvement would undoubtedly infuriate Carly, reigniting their long-standing feud. The possibility of sabotage. Given General Hospital's love of intrigue, the plane crash may not be an accident. Potential suspects include Selena Wu. If Willow was investigating something dangerous, Selena might have wanted her silenced. A forgotten enemy. Someone from Willow or Michael's past seeking revenge. A business rival. If the trip was related to Aurora Media or ELQ, corporate sabotage could be at play. Drew's investigative skills would be crucial in uncovering the truth, adding a thrilling mystery element to the storyline. Michael's emotional breakdown. Michael has suffered immense loss, his father A.J. Quartermain, his first love Abby, and the constant betrayals surrounding Wiley's custody. If Willow dies or is left in a coma, he could completely unravel, leaving him unfit to care for the children in the short term. This vulnerability might force him to reluctantly accept Drew's help, or resent him for taking over his family. Willow's potential return aftermath. If Willow survives but is severely injured, her recovery arc could mirror past J's amnesia storylines. She might not remember Michael or her children, leading to heartbreaking scenes where Drew becomes the bridge between her and her old life. Alternatively, if she returns to find Drew acting as a father figure, she could feel displaced, creating tension. Long-term implications. Drew-Michael's relationship. Could this bring them closer or drive a permanent wedge? Carly versus Drew. A custody battle could turn them from allies into enemies. Nina's redemption or downfall. Will she use this tragedy to manipulate or to finally do the right thing? The kids' future. How will Wiley and Amelia cope with losing their mother, even temporarily? Conclusion. Willow's plane crash is more than just a dramatic twist. It's a storyline that could redefine family dynamics in Port Charles. Drew stepping up as a guardian would create compelling drama, testing alliances and forcing characters to confront their deepest fears. Whether this leads to a new beginning or another heartbreaking chapter remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. General Hospital fans are in for an emotional roller coaster. Dante reacts to Brooklyn's hidden pregnancy. Lulu forces child confession. The sun was setting over Port Charles, casting a golden hue over the city as Dante Falconeri made his way home after a long day at the PCPD. He had been working on a particularly challenging case, and his mind was still racing with details and leads. As he walked into the living room of his apartment, he was greeted by the sight of his wife, Lulu Spencer, sitting on the couch with a determined expression on her face. Something was clearly on her mind. "Hey babe," Dante said, leaning down to kiss her. "You okay? You look like you're about to solve the world's problems." Lulu looked up at him, her blue eyes filled with a mix of concern and resolve. "Dante, we need to talk. It's about Brooklyn." Dante's brow furrowed. "Brooklyn? What about her? Is she okay?" Lulu hesitated for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "I think she's hiding something. Something big. And I think it's time we got to the bottom of it." Dante sat down beside her, his curiosity piqued. "What do you mean? What could she possibly be hiding?" Lulu took a deep breath. "I think she's pregnant." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Dante blinked, trying to process what he had just heard. "Pregnant? Brooklyn? Are you sure?" "Not entirely," Lulu admitted. "But I've noticed things. She's been avoiding certain foods, wearing loose clothing, and she's been unusually secretive lately. And then there's the way she's been acting around Valentine. Something's going on, Dante. I can feel it." Dante ran a hand through his hair, trying to make sense of the situation. "Okay, even if she is pregnant, why would she hide it? It's not like she's a teenager. She's an adult. She can make her own decisions." "That's what worries me," Lulu said. "If she's hiding it, there must be a reason. And if Valentine is involved, it could be something serious. You know how complicated their relationship is." Dante nodded, his mind racing. Valentine Cassadine was a powerful and enigmatic figure in Port Charles, and his connection to Brooklyn had always been a source of tension within the Quartermaine family. If Brooklyn was indeed pregnant, and Valentine was the father, it could have far-reaching consequences for everyone involved. "What do you want to do?" Dante asked, looking at Lulu. "I think we need to talk to her," Lulu said firmly. "She can't keep something like this a secret, especially if it affects the family. We need to know the truth." Dante sighed, knowing that Lulu was right. But he also knew that confronting Brooklyn about something so personal would not be easy. "All right," he said. "But we need to be careful. If she's not ready to talk, pushing her could make things worse." Lulu nodded, but her determination didn't waver. "I know, but we can't just sit back and do nothing. This is too important." The next day, Lulu and Dante arrived at the Quartermaine mansion, where Brooklyn had been staying since her return to Port Charles. The grand estate was as imposing as ever, with its sprawling gardens and towering columns. As they walked up the steps to the front door, Dante couldn't help but feel a sense of unease.